In fact, you're born with, I guess, up to like 500,000 different types of combinations already there to handle infections. Like you're already pre-programmed to fight off up to 500,000 different potential infecting agents, right? But it's very generic, so if something new comes into your body, what happens is this macrophage will go in there and say, hey, look what I got. Of course, no, it's not speaking English, all right? I'm just being metaphorical. It goes in there and says, look, anybody here know what this is? Anybody, can you handle it? And it's not just what scientists tell you. It's not just show and tell. All right, this happens in different dimensions as well. Do you know your body communicates not only in the third dimension? You have many different types of communication. Many different paths of communication, not just hormonal, not just neurological. Consciousness, and that consciousness is not limited to the third dimension, nor is the immune system. But anyway, so eventually maybe this macrophage encounters a white blood cell that says, hey, wait, I kind of have something that can deal with that. That's pretty similar to how I'm made. Here, just give me a moment. Let me change a few things up. And they call this genetic recombination. So it changes its genetic sequencing a little bit so that it can effectively go after the infection. Once it's done, and once it's changed itself to be correct, and so that it can handle it, and it divides and puts clones of itself dormant. They call those memory cells, and that's your immunity, in case that pathogen comes back to the body again. So you don't have to go through this whole process. But when it's identified and says, okay, I'm the one to take care of it, then it will turn on a receptor on its cell wall, and all the other ones will turn their receptors off. And this is a receptor to a substance called interleukin-2. Inter means between, leukin means white blood cell. It's a hormone secreted by your helper cells. And what this hormone does is it causes rapid cell division. They divide fast. I mean, your lymph nodes will literally become packed wall to wall with white blood cells. This is why a doctor will feel your lymph nodes, right? If they're swollen, that means that your immune system is trying to fight something off. HIV goes after the helper cells, the one that secretes interleukin-2. So without that, you don't get the rapid cell division. Yeah, I'm sure that just happened to show up in the rainforest somewhere as a freak of nature. No, man. Viruses are nanotechnology. Let me explain why I'm talking about the immune system here. This is not a lecture in physiology, even though it may appear to be that way. It's not a lecture in immunology for the sake of immunology. See the patterns. Why would I be talking about genetic recombination of a white blood cell? Because Earth has a similar situation going on, but just on a larger scale. So the people that are, quote, waking up are undergoing a similar process. The spirit can change your genetic code through resonance. Your spirit can do that. Part of you, your awareness, your understandings, your learning of this language, is similar in its pattern to genetic recombination. What it's doing is better equipping you to handle the problem. Learn to recognize the consistency of life, its patterns throughout all scales. This is why I wanted to demonstrate for you that this exists. And if you know it exists in your body, why would it be any different on this scale? Part of your learning this new information, opening up your awareness and such, is part of a similar process to genetic recombination of a white blood cell, enabling you to help. Okay? Anyway, viruses add genetic sequences. That's what many of your infections that you pass off as a cold here or the flu there, they're actually changing your DNA. Yes. But how do you resist a virus? Well, I've told you this in The Healing Begins Now. If you forgot that, go back and listen to it. What's a carrier? You hear about carriers. Well, this person's a carrier. They're not suffering from the symptoms, but they're a carrier. Well, if you're a carrier, that means that your white blood cells obviously didn't consume the virus. They didn't eradicate the body of the virus. Otherwise, what are you carrying? Generally because the virus is just too small. It's too small or intracellular or something. But why aren't you manifesting symptoms of it? If one person gets the wart virus and expresses warts once and then does not express warts again, and another person gets it and keeps expressing them, what's the difference? Well, the one that doesn't express it figured it out. Hey, this is doing all this stuff. Don't read that, basically. And then transmits that information throughout the entire body. Everybody, listen up. This genetic sequence, don't read it. It does this, 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 and this. Ignore it. And see, the thing about a virus, if you don't read it, if you don't follow its instructions, it can't hurt you. Period. Well, same thing kind of with mind control. If you allow your spirit to be raised from the dead, if you allow love to come up and command the ego, it can permeate your subconscious realms, even if your conscious mind is unaware of it, and not read the input of a demon or mind control or all of these other things. Do you understand? So what am I getting to then right now? Basically, the earth and the spirit through the earth has assessed this infection. What is it doing? How are people under this trance? What is going on? Because people are being used to consume earth. They're drilling up the oil, digging up the gold and silver, all the minerals and crystals and all these constituents that the earth needs for its body on its time scale. Humans are eating earth alive. All right? Because they're connected to a consciousness that is doing that. Just like cancer cells eat you alive. They eat up your essence. You know, something similar like that, okay? Think of it maybe like scarlet fever. That's another way to look at it. You know, our DNA has changed. We were more simple as far as intellect before, but we were connected to so much more knowledge before. And they upgraded our cortex so that we could carry out the functions to eat the planet. All right? This is where psychology comes in. Because they knew that if they upgraded our cortex somewhat, if we developed the ability to question, they've got to put out many of these fake answers. All right? That's where the whole thing comes from. Because if you question, you're going to start to question, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're evil here. We're eating animals. We're consuming the earth. That's not right. So that's what they use mind control for. This larger consciousness, you hear about a queen, they worship the queen and all these things. Well, look at how a bee hive works. Look at how ants work. They found that if you kill the queen bee or the queen ant, the ants don't know what to do. They're lost. They're chaotic because they're mind controlled by the queen. Certain creations, people, are not indigenous to Earth. They're creations of something that happened a long time ago, like even predators. Generally, there's no such thing as a predator. Life on Earth is crazy. But they changed the resonance. How hard is that? How hard is it to create a predator when you are like these beings or this cancer consciousness? You got to understand that DNA is not the same thing as the genetic code. DNA is like a piano keyboard. The genetic code is whatever you're playing on that piano keyboard at any given time. To create a saber-toothed tiger, to create these early predators, they just either infected them with viruses directly, changed their vibration, changed their resonance to create new traits and instincts. But I know that's not normal. How do I know that? Well, remember I told you that you'll have things that happened in your life that you can draw upon in retrospect to verify what you're going through right now, to guide you to the truth. About 4 years ago, I remember I was sitting there reading